This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over veto by the mayor. This ordinance shall become effective.
Now you've heard the second reading of ordinance O-2411, amendment of chapter 18, ethics. Anyone can make a motion?
So move.
A second.
Any questions?
This is Councilwoman Hicks. I don't have a question. There was a little bit of conversation on this end about this particular ordinance, and I wanted to ask for some clarification so that everybody is in the understanding that I have. I was trying to explain, but I want to make sure that everybody else is in the understanding as well. So if Ms. Ball or whoever would like to clarify what this is. Can you hear me? Ms. Ball?
So, the State Ethics Council, Assistant Counsel, sent an email on, I'm sorry, my voice is coming in and out. Sent an email on February 16th, recommending that the City Council amend Chapter 18 to include those sections that was read during this portion, during this ordinance last week as well as this week. When the ethics was updated back in 22, those two portions was left out mistakenly. So we had to come back and add those amendments to the Chapter 18. So it was recommended by the state. As you know, our ethics code has to mirror the state or be as stringent as the state code. So it's the recommendation of the state for the changes to be made.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Mrs. Ball?
Online voting has been open. Measure passes 6-1.
Now, reading of ordinance O-2412, amendment of fiscal year 2023-24 budget for neighborhood and NCC supervisor and officer salary.
Sure. Ordinance O-24-12, introduced by City Council. They introduced on March 4th, 2024. First reading, March 4th, 2024. Second reading, March 11th, 2024. An ordinance concerning amendment of fiscal year 2023-2024 budget for the city of Sea Pleasant. Section 1, be it ordained by Sea Pleasant City Council that the 2023-2024 budget of the city of Sea Pleasant, as enacted by ordinance O-23-11, adopted on June 20th, 2023, shall be amended for a salary increase for the neighborhood to the neighborhood commercial and compliance supervisor and officer positions. General fund account title expenditures decrease the following line item: expense account, contingencies, department administration, cost center 5460, current budget amount $534,565, adjustment $20,197, new budget amount $514,368. Expenditures decrease the following line item: expense account, public safety contingency, department public safety, cost center 5460, current budget amount $7,000, adjustment $7,000, new budget amount $0. Expenditure increase the following line item: salaries increase for NCC supervisor, NCC officers, department NCC, cost center 5100, current budget amount 92,803, adjustment 27,197, new budget amount 120,000. Section 2, be it further ordained by Sea Pleasant City Council that having been approved by the affirmative vote of at least a majority of the total elected membership of the council shall be necessary for adoption. The city clerk shall certify to the adoption of this ordinance and cause the same to be published as required by law, and that the ordinance shall become effective immediately following approval by the mayor or passage by council after the mayor's veto.
As you heard, the reading of ordinance dash 024 -12, amendment to fiscal year for NCC. Anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Bilbro, second by Councilwoman McCarthy. Any questions? Okay.
My question is, I wanted to get clarification on the purpose of this. I asked a few questions, but I can't, my emails don't go back. They leave after 30 days. So I've tried to get that rectified, but I can't find an email to see what was the purpose of this change. So whoever implemented this, can you explain it, please?
Okay. President Rayner, may I address the dais?
Yes, you may. Oh, sorry
Okay.
about that.
Thank you. So Councilmember Higgs, the purpose of this budget amendment is to increase opportunities to recruit and retain someone in the position of the neighborhood and commercial compliance officer. In our last budget, we had two positions where we were able to increase it just slightly, but the salaries right now are not in parity with the salaries that are being offered municipalities of our size. So I am asking through this budget amendment that we do increase the salary so that we could bring some good candidates into the position so that we can restructure the neighborhood and commercial compliance department in the way that will better serve the city. And to do that, we need to pay more money. Thank you.
Can I speak?
Yes, you may.
Do you know what the current salaries are at this current time for?
Yes, so as you are aware, we did have two neighborhood and commercial compliance officers. We did lose one to another municipality who was paying in excess of $70,000, I believe. We are looking to recruit officers in the $60,000 range.
So what is it currently now?
It's
40?
around 42, 45.
45. It's like 45.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Ms. Ball.
Online voting has been opened. Measure passes 5-1. 5-2.
Okay, go to presentations. Presentation from Sherry Bryant Moore. Is she here?
Yes, yes,
The floor is yours.
oh, thank you. I would like to, share my, screen. Can you all see?
Not yet.
Yes, yes, we can now.
Can't see her.
Screen.
Great. Well, good evening, Mayor Porter and members of the Seat Pleasant City Council, and Ms. Ojo and Ms. Ball. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present a program that we hope to take place on April 20th now. The previous date was April 13th, which was in conflict with your all-day budget council meeting. And but just to give a little background, my name is Sherry Bryant Moore. I am Director of Development Community Grants with the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council. Rhonda Dallas, whom you may know, our CEO and Chief Curator, is out of town. And so I will be briefly making this presentation to you. So the event is a creative placemaking event and actually started 2 years ago. The Arts Council does have operates our Arts in Public Places program. We do a lot of creative placemaking events, and and we also had 2 projects, I think, in the Seat Pleasant community, which I will briefly reference later. So the purpose of this program is centered around the Blue Line Corridor and other development efforts that are occurring in and around the Blue Line Corridor, particularly in the Seat Pleasant Capitol Heights community. We were approached several in early 2 years ago with Brian Franklin of LISC and some other community members about doing some community visioning. It dovetailed perfectly on the bus shelter program, which we had underway, to sort of enlist community engagement around some of the issues that surfaced when this program was initially introduced in 2021. We know it's years long, but the whole idea was to get community involved, first to increase community awareness of what's going on, and also to get feedback, and also to assist in visioning what the community and the municipalities, what they envision for their communities. And so at that time, it was several of the members at the time were LISC, the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council, the Training Source, Mission of Love, and Capital Market. And at that time, we had done a mini presentation around Addison Plaza. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was to do a clock tower, and we had done some planning work with the Route 202 coalition to get some feedback and to activate a space. Well, that fell through. And as the Horning brothers at the plaza pulled out, and we still wanted to do something. And so the committee reconvened. We also, this past summer, had partnered with Park and Planning to do the Downtown Largo event. And so in December and in January, some members of the community, which you saw on the previous slide, took a tour. And so we did a tour around Seat Pleasant, looking at several areas, and settled on the fireplace, the firehouse, as a potential area, just because it is iconic, it has history. We know that the city, or that there may be plans around reactivating the firehouse, and it was very close to the bus shelter project and several thoroughfares. But when the interior was not available, we had requested the parking lot for the Seat Pleasant City Hall to continue the activation, and which I will describe further. But in that process, we identified several areas where they could be improved signage, walkways, iconic sites. The Chesapeake Trail, which kind of goes down, we noticed that there was some work being done, but there are also other things that were being done that we were not sure that the community was engaged about, and possibly put that on as a list of potential projects that we could bring at this event and have the community look at and respond to. So this was the Downtown Largo event with the Prince George's Planning Office, Creative Placemaking. This is one of several projects that they did, one in Suitland and in Riverdale, and this was Downtown Largo, specifically part of the Largo wayfinding and placemaking planning, which also happened to include the Blue Line corridor, and there's a section there for community feedback and commenting. But we wanted to show you this in particular because the area that you see the artist inside the container and the community paint, the umbrellas, those are all assets that we can use. Now, we are not going to paint the parking lot, which is what we did. It was just transformed, but this was at the Wayne Curry Center. But we gleaned a lot of important information. We are wrapping the large garage at the new hospital, University of Maryland Hospital. And what we learned is that the community thought it was the hospitals and not the Revenue Authority. They did not realize it was a public parking facility. And so it's things like that that we try to educate and inform. So what happened? So with that particular, with our programming, we thought, of course, the family events, food truck, but also the community painting, a design charrette, which you will see further, which we're actually coming back to the city council and the community with the designs, with the artists that had been selected, I want to say 18 months or 2 years ago. And then the resource booths for agencies, we've already gotten those that are reaching out to see if they can have a table like the county Ride Smart program. But also there are several planned projects such as Mission of Love, which is having a very large new facility being created. Their previous facility is now owned by the Revenue Authority, and they want community feedback and what they see before they begin building. So, and then also other area developments like Banneker, and those are the Revenue Authority and the Planning Office will also be invited to share information about the signs. About the planned activities. The other part of that is as we are engaging people about what is going on, it is our hope. There have been several planning programs and processes that are open to the entire community. And we want to ensure that residents are informed about the community and that their voice matters. Also, the information that we are collecting through these various initiatives and programs in a fun and creative way, we also will be feeding back to the various stakeholders, including the city of Seat Pleasant, also with the other municipalities such as Capitol Heights, and District Heights as information becomes available. So one of the projects that you may be familiar with is the bus shelter project, which is right there on the corner of Addison Road and Central Avenue. The council selected Tim Schofield. He now has several designs available, and so those will be up on display, and the council, the members of the community can actually look at the designs and see what is feasible. So the larger picture up at the top is a sort of rendering that is in no way a final design, but it does show scale of what is possible. And then the bottom two are examples of previous work, which you probably have seen, but if spend some time, and we want to make sure that the community is re-engaged before these pieces become final, because this has to stay in the community, and we want to make sure that your feedback is engaged. And so some other things we did, the Arts Council has a MOU with WMATA in their Arts and Transit program. And in noticing that at the Addison Road Metro, that some of the bus shelters were falling down, and using some of the themes that had been collected from the previous planning processes, we worked with them to put some temporary bus shelters just to make the place, make the environment more festive, and to remove some of the blight with the broken down bus shelters that had been there previously. And so these last two slides may not be part of the visioning process, but I include this because when we do community visioning, we know that we spoke with Chief Harris. We have an initiative with another council member, Jolene Ivy, to do some streetscapes and safe because some of the roadways have become quite dangerous. Especially in some blighted areas, and these are some of the themes that we, just in case that the city has identified locations. We can assist residents in and the council members, the members of the community, in reimagining what is possible. The same thing with the firehouse in Hyattsville, in Mount Rainier. It was converted by Red Dirt Studio, which is privately developed, but it has a gallery space, it has artist space, it has a shop, and just to kind of show what is possible with some of the area spaces for the firehouse, but it can be any part of areas that are vacant spaces, working with developers to either reactivate those spaces or in the case of the firehouse, if there are plans to completely renovate, to do some of the things that the Arts Council has done, which is to do sort of creative incubators where people can buy their work, or grocery stores, or whatever the themes that have emerged, which the community has already shared through some of the plans, through LISC, economic inclusion agenda, laid out several ideas there. And I'll kind of stop there to entertain any questions, but it is on April 20th. We want to make sure that you are engaged throughout the process, and can help if you desire to look and see what the final programming looks like. Also at the program, hopefully to share a few words about your thoughts. But the whole idea is to short term have this event, but this would be a first of a series of events, and hopefully a longer term create a sort of arts and culture hub that would exist in and around the community. Now, stop now. Thank you.
Any questions? Mayor Porter?
What I wanted to say to you is I really appreciate the presentation that you made and the things that you're going to try to do here in the city. When it comes down to the bus shelters, I've seen some bus shelters, okay, that will allow for, when you look at those bus shelters, it gives real pertinent shelter, but it still allows you to look inside, okay, the shelter, which means from a safety standpoint, it's just something that's, you know, more conducive to what we want to have in the city. I can share with you some of those shelters, which I've seen. They're constructed very well. They also have lighting with them, but they're put in a manner that really makes it safe for it to be, and less of an opportunity for it to be damaged, okay? Because that's typically one of the major problems that we would have with shelters, and them getting damaged over a period of time by vandals. So I just want to share that with you.
Yes, and please do, and we can get that over to Rhonda and the team, and so those can be factored into the planning process.
Excuse me, this Council President Rayner. I'm going to ask a question because it has been a while and it was on my mind the other day. Why did we select the shelter on, as you said, Addison and Central Avenue versus another spot that may not have a shelter that can be placed there? Do you recall? Sherry?
Oh, I'm sorry, was that question for me?
Yeah, I was hoping you refresh my
yes.
memory.
I'm sorry. You know, I thought you asked another council member. Oh, so those shelters were selected, I want to say through a process with the city council and DPW&T, which is our partner in this particular initiative. And I believe it was selected in with a variety of factors, with I think safety being the most important part. Also, it could have been the amount of space from the curb to the actual, that there are a lot of factors that went into that. But I do know that the final selections at that time were determined and voted on with the city council. If you need an exact response, I can get that from Rhonda Dallas and get that information back to you. But I do know that it was in partnership with DPW&T.
Okay, thank you.
Council
Any
President,
other questions? Yes, Ms. McCarthy.
if I'm remembering correctly, I think location played a huge part as to why we chose that particular bus shelter. I know there was also one on MLK that was up for consideration as well, but I feel like we chose that one because of its location and the proximity to City Hall, and with what was going to start happening with the Blue Line Corridor and all of those things, to kind of make it a full picture of art within the city. Because the plan was to do, we had the new City Hall, we would have the new bus shelter there, and then they were doing projects along Central Avenue. So that's what I remember, to kind of give you a little bit of explanation.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question, not really a question, but a comment. But now that the city isn't really part of that Blue Line corridor, we're not getting any funding, so we're not gonna have any major projects on this end. So, I mean, I know we have already picked the location, but I'm just concerned, like, now that we're not in that loop anymore with that Blue Line corridor big project, where does that stand for the city? And the firehouse have issues, so, you know, where are we going with this?
So, was that a question for me?
It really wasn't a question, it was just a statement, but if you have something you want to add on to it, I will greatly appreciate it. Or if any of the council members may have any additional information, or Ms. Ojo, I would love to hear what else is happening.
So there are several development projects that are still occurring in and around the city of Seat Pleasant. Banneker Development, there is a housing complex, and there are several other initiatives that are coming into place, and some existing initiatives such as the trails. And so we really felt that this was an opportunity to engage the residents around those projects, but also to get them also involved in some of the other initiatives that are happening with the Blue Line Corridor, because decisions can change with community feedback. And so the whole idea is to increase the flow of information and engagement around what is occurring, and then assist in reimagining some of these spaces that you may have already identified, to look at where the opportunities are, because there are probably other partners, there are other, maybe other developers that may be coming in and around. And as communities know what they want, some of those issues can be further brought to the table. But this activity is a means to increase the flow of communication and engagement.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. Public-private partnership, so the mainstay, we had opportunity to have a meeting with a group just last week. Both Councilmember McCarthy and ourselves attended along with our city manager to look at what the public-private partnerships will be doing. So even though one may think that because some of the, when you talked about the project of the Blue Line Corridor, and much of it was being, going toward the outside of the Beltway as opposed to the inside, much of the conversation was centered around, particularly for this particular meeting, around doing things inside the Beltway, even if it had to come down to doing public-private partnerships to make those things happen. So there's a lot that's actually still going to be going on inside the city. The biggest thing that really has to take place is that there are the partnerships that we have to make between the cities that are going to be impacted, primarily Fairmont Heights and Capitol Heights. And we act as a uniform body, okay, to put everything together to make it actually happen for us. That's one of the things that we discussed, and that's one of the things that's going to be we're going to try to facilitate very soon between those, not just the mayor's meeting and having that kind of thing, but also the mayors in the councils, okay, being a whole part of the whole thing. So we go as a unified body to make sure that we get what's necessary for our communities that we've been waiting for such a long period of time.
I appreciate that. I just, me being a resident here for such a long time, we've been promised so many things and it doesn't happen. And now as a council member, and as I'm trying to, bring residents in to be more engaged, to be more involved, they're pulling back because they feel that we're not trustworthy. And I know some of the things with the Blue Line Corridor doesn't have anything to do with the city of Sea Pleasant. We have no, power to change anything. I got that. But again, there's been spice. There's been other things that have happened over the years that we feed something and it doesn't happen, and I'm just very concerned about that. And I'm going to speak about those things. I'm not going to keep quiet about them. I'm going to keep speaking that we can't keep saying we're going to do things. These partnerships happen and nothing comes about an investment. Nothing comes about money that has been spent from the city. So I'm concerned, even though I'm a new council, it's a lot. It means a lot because I live here. So that's the first thing. I want to really clear that up. Things that's happening outside the Beltway, that's not within the city. All we have is convenience stores. We don't have a grocery store. We talking about the fire department. Give me a grocery store. That's walkable.
Yep.
Save-A-Lot is not a grocery store. The convenience stores, they don't rotate their food.
Okay.
You go in there to buy something and it's outdated. So I know this is a whole nother thing, but I just want to, let's be real about really what's happening in Sea Pleasant.
Yep.
Okay, I yield the floor.
Very
Thank
true.
you.
Very true.
Mayor, I heard what you said, and Ms. Higgs, I'm kind of on board with you. I keep hearing about this fire department, and I go back to the question I asked last month, and that is, where are the funds coming from to bring that building up to par to even be usable? We got a lot to do before we talk about putting food and all that stuff in that firehouse or usable to make it safe for the people around here to even use. So I yield the floor. I'm not sleeping. I think the things she said were good, but we need to start from where the need is. And I agree with Councilmember Higgs. We need a grocery store, a functioning grocery store. That's what we need. That's what the citizens want. I yield the floor.
Any other questions?
Two things. One, the other location on MLK, it's already somewhat of a blind spot there. So that's why I wasn't in favor of that location. Yes, and then also this decision was made, if I'm not mistaken, the fire department was still operable at the time. So this is an old decision. I don't know why it's taken so long, because this is something that was talked about at this point more than last year. It was before last year. Yeah, it was before last year. So
Yeah.
It
unfortunately.
was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
DP
so-
and WT DP and WT had, I would say, they deferred several projects that were to move along last spring to this spring.
Actually, Delegate Barron came with, as far as design and things like that, so he was very instrumental in that process before he, went on to be, going to be another position. But these things were discussed, and like I said, yes, we know, it's just not our community, the surrounding communities within the Beltways, we're like a food desert kind of situation, and those things were discussed. And you're getting a lot more squeak, okay, and from just not the cities, but also the surrounding areas that want to become an integral part of what we're doing for this. So there's a lot of talk being done, and people really don't want to, we don't want to hear, we've got to a point where we just don't want to hear presentations anymore. We want action. So those are the things, that's what I'm saying. But again, as a total group, and that's where we have to start to act as a group, for our inner Beltway cities to see these things actually take place. And that's what I believe those things are going to start to really show fruit for us in the near future. All I'm going to say is sit back, and there's some things that are coming. And I really truly believe that now. It's been a long wait, but it's time.
Well, please just let us know. You may know, but we don't. So the quicker that we can get the information.
Well, that last meeting was put on my calendar. It wasn't on you guys' calendar?
Ma'am. No, ma'am.
I only showed up because it was sent to me.
Wasn't on my calendar. Councilman Reyna just asked which meeting.
There was a meeting on Thursday with Lisk in regards to, it was at the training source in regards, I got an invitation from Ms. Rhoda.
Okay.
Well, it has, things will be put on your calendar from this day forward in reference to that. As a matter of fact, you might be inundated with things that are going to have an opportunity to go with from now leading forward. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Sherry
Brian Moore.
Moore.
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
All right, have a wonderful evening.
You too.
All
Bye
right.
now.
The other presentation. 2023 City Manager's Annual Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the diocese to know, I did ask permission from the president to sit at my desk to provide you with the annual report due to me having some allergies, and I didn't want to get in front of you to disrespect you. But first of all, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, again, to discuss with you the state of Seat Pleasant and where we are in fiscal year 2023. As you know, this is my first full year with the city of Seat Pleasant, having started as your city manager in December of 2022. So this is a full comprehensive report to the best of my ability that will outline to you what our accomplishments were in 2023. It'll also outline where we're trying to go in terms of the culture of our city. Also will outline where the council has made their impression on each and every single department to move this city forward so that we will be continue to be a viable municipality. So I'll begin with my presentation, but the first thing I want to say to all of you is that in the throes of transparency, this report will go out as the newsletter that will be sent and shipped in 2 weeks. So every single citizen will have an opportunity to see what's happening with Seat Pleasant, all the good, the bad, and everything that's going on. But I think that we're on the upswing. The council has made some really wonderful decisions. You've made some good judgment calls in terms of really moving us forward. And so I want to say thank you personally for being this body, this collective body, and able to get us this far. So I'll start a little bit with my report here. And once again, I'll state it's a privilege to serve as your city manager and honored to present this annual report of the state of the city of Seat Pleasant. This report will highlight some of the major accomplishments in 2023 and also identify the initiatives and other challenges that we've had in 2023. As you know, as the city manager, I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city, and at the guidance of the council, I am authorized to approve all purchases, purchase requisitions, respond to constituent inquiries, and approving all payroll. Additionally, and most important, is setting the tone for leading the city of Seat Pleasant to perform at its fullest potential. When I started in December, I wanted to state that the city was somewhat not functioning at its fullest capacity. It began immediately with filling 3 key positions that were vacant at the time that I came in. One was the chief of police, where Demetrius Harris was acting, and so he was not fully confirmed as the chief of police. The second was the chief financial officer, and the third position was a newly created position that focused on facilities maintenance and engineering. An additional restructure of the Environmental Justice Department allowed us to abolish the foreman position and instead create a brand new section that focused clearly on just maintaining this infrastructure that we have that includes our buildings, our vertical buildings, our parks, and our play equipment in all of our parks areas. Additionally, we hired a staff assistant that worked with the council on their objectives so that they were able to fully work to assure that that they were meeting the needs of their constituents. As you know, I have proposed a Learning Seat Pleasant to really further where we need to go with the organization internally. This is a concept that will center the organization around building competencies, supporting mandatory training, also having departmental trainings that are specific for each and every single department, and ensuring that we have the most highly qualified staff working with us, and we have staff with the best competencies and the trainings available to them. Additionally, I understand that sometimes when you're in a governmental entity, that we like to put things in manuals. So we have the personnel manual, the accounting manual, but oftentimes when we're working with our employees, it's very important to have a level of transparency, something you can go to right away. So with the Learning Seat Pleasant concept, our goal is to make an intranet page available for all of our employees to go to so that they can get information on the spot on looking at their payroll, their paychecks, looking at their benefits, looking at if they have any additional information, any additional services that we have on retirement. All of that would be available at the spot. Also, they would also have access to each and every other department too, so they'll understand or build a competency about each and every department, so we're not operating in silos. So I believe in collaborations, I believe in collective teamship and collective work, and none of us are working with the city of Seat Pleasant alone. So in the calendar year 2023, we managed to maintain a budget of $13.1 million and supporting a staff of 63. That makes us one of the largest employers in Seat Pleasant. I just like to always say that. The mayor and myself had met vehemently with the Seat Pleasant Volunteer Fire Department to assure that, that when that opportunity come, that we would have we would be able to come and to acquire that firehouse. And so we're still in negotiations with that because it's so close to our property. We believe that we have a vested interest in acquiring that piece of property for the purpose of supporting the citizens of Seat Pleasant. And this year, we also created that new section that I talked about, which is environmental justice, and it focused specifically on maintenance, on scheduled maintenances, inspections, and routine repairs on assets in our buildings and parks. And most importantly, we were able to hire a chief financial officer that was able to come in with a 30-day plan to restructure our finance department to include some positions. And those positions include 2 senior accountants, an accountant manager, and accountant assistant that we just recently hired. As most of you know, in the summer, in the early spring of 2023 and summer, we were able to open phase 1 of Goodwin Park. It is not completed, but we were able to open it up so that the soccer fields could be utilized, the playscape, and the dog park was used temporarily. We are currently restructuring the dog park, so it would support our animals in a much more professional way, but we also needed to be, to function in a way that our staff can also clean the park and make it sanitary for our Seat Pleasant animals to enjoy. We appointed Mr. Barber to be our Environmental Justice Director, and I'm proud to say he actually moved up in our organization to take this position. And we worked really diligently, especially the council and mayor, to work and to reestablish our relationships with the state, local, and county governments, going to several meetings and meeting them in person. And then finally, administration established a smart technology and review usage policy that reviews every piece of technology we have every 3 years. So remember, this is a smart city, but technology is consistently changing. So with the Office of Finance, what you have in your board docs packet is going to look very different than this. I just got this report earlier today. As I had mentioned, we are working diligently through the Office of Finance. They're holding down a lot of the challenges that we had due to the fact that we did not have anyone in the position of Chief Financial Officer. Most notably, as you were aware, the city was behind 3 years on their legislative audits. And because of the fact that they were behind on those audits, it placed the city in a position to be vulnerable to some specific legislation that came across our desk. And I'm very proud to say that Senate Bill 116 and House Bill 450 was really legislation that was really based on that, specifically guided towards Seat Pleasant. And thank you to the council and to our constituents for supporting efforts and advocating for the city and for the viability of the city by showing up at the House and Senate chambers to assure that this city survives. And so it's important. But one of the good things about the finance department now is that we have hired many of the positions. We have a very strong chief financial officer, and she has worked immediately to restructure the department, also to center all of the purchase requisitions through her, make us more accountable for the purchases that we are making throughout the city. We were also successfully able to complete the 2020 audit, right at the tail end of the year, and we'll be happy to report in a couple of weeks that we'll be finished with the 2021 audit. The finance department hired a new accounting manager and a senior accountant, and also took over the city's payroll from the HR department. Additionally, as you all are aware, that the business personal property taxes were collected previously and had been, and I thank our city clerk for taking on the challenge in 2019 during, just as we were going into COVID, to take over collecting our business personal property taxes. Those have now been remanded back to the finance department, and they will be collecting the taxes from here on. So thank you very much, Ms. Ball, for that. So moving right along to the office of the city clerk. This position in calendar year 2023 has been extremely vibrant. The city clerk, which is a position of one, conducted the special election for Ward 5 vacancy, coordinated a new hybrid and in-person meeting beginning in July. So we have to thank the city clerks for initiating the efforts to assure that we have this equipment in the chambers today to have this meeting being live streamed and opening up that level of transparency to all of our citizens and any stakeholders that want to know what's going on in the city of Seat Pleasant. The city clerk implemented the state-of-the-art recording studio and audio-visual contract. She prepared and created the RFP and went through the whole process with that. And during this time, as the custodian of the official records of the city of Seat Pleasant, she continues to record and maintain all the proceedings of the city council for each of us. That includes processing all the legislation, that includes our ordinances and resolutions. And she also is our public information officer. And so during the year of 2023, the city of Seat Pleasant received 36 Maryland Public Information Act requests between January and December. And also, as I had stated, she had been collecting the business personal property taxes from July 2019 to October 5th, 2023. And in excess, the city has received $592,239.96 in business personal property taxes revenue as of October 5th, 2023. Additionally, we have some charts that also state the total days and average days public record requests are by department that are in the graph here. And as a result of her work, she was able to coordinate 49 council meetings that included the closed, public, and special session, and facilitated actions, including 11 charter amendments, 10 ordinances, and 5 resolutions. Yeah, I had the wrong person working the PowerPoint, I'm sorry. I need a clicker. Okay, so the next department I would like to talk about is our Environmental Justice Department. It's our largest department here at the city of Seat Pleasant. It's the one, it's also a frontline department, very similar to what you see in public safety. One second here, I'm gonna need to plug in real quick. Thought I had enough power to move forward. Okay, there we go. Okay, So as you know, the Environmental Justice Department is responsible for much of the work, the frontline work around the city. And some of the accomplishments of the Environmental Justice Department is to improve the environmental health and the environment and public health of the city of Seat Pleasant through effective service delivery, consistent with infrastructure, and creating a safe, clean, and enjoyable environment. They're also responsible for our waste management services, and they are responsible for assuring the city continues to be clean as people ride through the city. So the accomplishments in FY '23 is that the city passed the county's stormwater management testing for the very first time in our parks. We coordinated a training day for EJD staff to operate the street sweeper. Additionally, with the street sweeper, we have reactivated full services on the street sweeper that included placing signs up just recently, and this is the first full season in 2024 that we're going to be utilizing both of our street sweepers to assure that the city streets are clean. Also, the Environmental Justice Department was responsible for coordinating the quarterly, monthly, and annual scheduled maintenances for our department through the new facilities section, and they also established an inventory clerk position that is responsible for assuring that every single piece of equipment is considered an asset with the organization, and that each and every worker checks in and out the equipment, and they have to maintain and prime it before it's placed back into the inventory. The city accomplished planting over 400 trees this year. 90 dead trees were removed with the city through the use of some of the ARPA funds. And we also used some emergency funding to remove some trees that were damaging or potentially damaging some property, and those trees were on our property. We also established a more regimented process for checking in and out of the equipment that I had mentioned by our public works crew, so that we're not subjected to damaged equipment in other words, we're making everyone accountable for it now. And we also utilized and went into the yards and fixed and repaired legacy equipment, really good equipment that has been old and had been sitting back for many, many years. And those pieces of equipment that we fixed was a larger street sweeper called the Elgin, and the water buffalo, which we can use to water all those 400 trees that we've purchased also. We also did a Big Belly fleet refresh also, so the Big Bellies are refreshed. We've had the company come out to assure that they're still working and that they're collecting the data that we needed them to collect as well. So overall, the City of Seat Pleasant's Environmental Justice Department served 1,800 citizens pretty much every day. Trash service being picked up on Monday and Thursday, and recycles and bulk waste pick up on Wednesday. We also still have the challenge of the illegal dumps. So we'll continue to work on that. But as the city becomes cleaner and people become more prideful of seeing the city clean, hopefully that will change. But we still have some problem areas. So in 2023, we had 62 illegal dump cleanups per month, costing the city $15,000 annually in dump fees. So that still continues to be a problem. Our next largest department is public safety. They're also our front line, and there are professional staff of Seat Pleasant police officers that serve and protect the citizens daily. Their job is committed to protecting the life, property, and public service to the citizens of Seat Pleasant. and they're dedicated to those services. And we are very proud to say that we have a really good department, and becoming a 24-hour, 365-day-per-year department has not waned them in supporting and serving the citizens of Seat Pleasant. They responded to 16,000 calls for service. There was a 50% increase in retention of sworn officers in calendar year 2023. 3 K-9 officers were trained for special cadence, and at this point, at the end of 2023, we achieved the largest number of officers ever in the history of Seat Pleasant, with 24 officers being sworn in, total sworn in that are working with us. The police department also coordinated the National Kia Hyundai program and the anti-theft program, giving away dozens of them to citizens while on patrol and at many of our city events. And they participated and coordinated dozens of community events. I would like to say that our police department, our public safety department, has to be one of the most recognized community police, have one of the most recognized community policing department. I'm gonna say in the county, but I'm gonna go even further to say in the state. I don't know anyone who's doing it the way we do community policing. And that includes not only working with our youth, but also leading CPAC, which is our community advisory group that assists us in making policing policy, and also working with our council to assure that they're available on the ward walks. So in this report here, I want everyone to look very carefully, because we have placed every single camera location on here. So these are the cameras. Do not go over 12 miles per hour when you see that sign. And also, when you make a stop at the stop sign, stop for 6 seconds, and that's how you don't get a ticket. But we're very serious about supporting the community. We have seen a high level of fatalities, specifically related to pedestrians. And we want to assure that there's, that people are able to be safe walking. We have a high walking population of people, but they would really prefer not to respond to that level of pedestrian traffic here. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with my computer. Moment. Yeah, I think it wasn't plugged in, so I thought I had plugged it in, so let's see if we can do the F1 and see if it'll reboot. This one may be the battery. Okay. One moment. Okay. Almost done, I promise. I think I need to reboot back onto Zoom so that okay, I'm coming back now. come in. Join without video. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and complete the report and just state that the rest of the remaining part of the report is in our board docs, so you'll be able to see all of this. And of course, if you're a citizen watching, you will have this in your mailbox as well. But I'll move right along to economic development. That is the department that is responsible for overseeing our grants. And Ms. Kirtland Rhoda is the person that operates that. And this department is responsible for providing services for the business placement, retention, expansion, and recruitment while creating programs dedicated to the betterment of the community. This department was also responsible for the ARPA funds, overseeing all the ARPA funds and making sure all the reporting was done to the government and assuring that the city was in full compliance in how we utilize those funds. Those funds were used by the city primarily to provide city citizens with social services, to remove dead trees around the city. We had a tree program that was specifically guided toward that, to assist many of the residents with medical assistance. We also were able to provide rental assistance during the pandemic, mortgages, utilities, and home repair issues. We also utilized those funds to create and to expand some of the park playscapes. The funds were also used to upgrade the city's police department, equipment, and provide food giveaways during the pandemic. So, the city has received funding through the Prince George's. Additionally, the city received community investments and grants through the county. Under the Department of HCD, continuing to renovate Goodwin Park, specifically staging an area just at the top of the park, which we are looking to create a cultural hub. Just recently, we received $70,000 in calendar year 2023 to do a full design of that area. So Goodwin Park will have an additional space that will continue to bring citizens and engage them in an area where they will be able to enjoy and participate in cultural events. The plan for the space includes input from residents, and through a community charrette that we had last year, we were able to gain significant insight on where the city wanted to go in terms of what that cultural hub would look like. And so we're looking forward to that. In calendar year 2023, the city received its first ever project funds from Maryland Park and Planning for 3 projects. And I want to thank council member, especially Sharika McCarthy, who was instrumental in working with our county to identify some utilizations for those funds. $200,000 of those funds went for beautification, where we would assist in working with the county and some of their home owner associations. And $60,000 would go for social services, and $25,000 would go for senior support services. In the calendar year 2023, the city of Seat Pleasant was a stop on the walking tour by Delegate Jazz Lewis as the Blue Line Corridor continues to impact the city of Seat Pleasant. And the city, as you know, we continue to advocate for additional funding or even impact funding to support what is going on around the region that will directly impact our city. So just to highlight some of the grant funding that we received in 2023, we also received additional highway revenue user funds, around $158,000, police recruitment and retention grants, the governor's office on crime control and prevention, and the United States Department of Justice grant. And then our Human Resources Department. The Human Resources Department is responsible for the recruitment and retention of all 63 employees. They continue to handle all matters that includes everything related to our employees, from workforce development to terminations, resignations. It also includes hearings, unemployment insurance claims, workman's comp claims, and approves all work-related injury claims. Additionally, this department is responsible for the onboarding of all positions and does sit in on every single interview. So in calendar 2023, the Human Resources Department recruited and interviewed for 15 positions. They created job descriptions for new reorganizations of the Finance and the Environmental Justice Department. They processed benefits and open enrollment for 63 full-time employees, represented the city successfully in employment action claims, and saved the city $120,000 in erroneous unemployment claims. Also, the department is responsible for managing the 401A, which is the employee retirement plan that we pay into, and the 457B plan that we recommend that all of our employees invest in for their future. So just to highlight some of the positions that I've probably already mentioned, but the Environmental Justice Director position was the one. The Chief Financial Officer position was hired in 2023, the new Inventory Clerk position, the new Facilities Maintenance Engineer position, 2 Senior Accountant positions, the Accounting Manager position, Safety Officer, Waste Management Manager, and the Division of Public Works Manager and the Staff Assistant were all hired in 2023. And then finally, our Public Engagement Department. This department is responsible for all job advertising, payroll, preparing for and hosting the benefits fair for city employees, and also responsible for all of the public engagement to assure that all of our stakeholders and citizens are aware of what's going on in the city. This department is responsible for expanding the Call-A-Bus services in 2023. In 2023, we moved this position from being a part-time position to a full-time position. And therefore, we were able to service 393 citizens in calendar year 2023 with the Call-A-Bus service. We average 140 calls per week for the city for services and information. And this department was also responsible for coordinating 2 initiatives that we had. The first being the new First Friday initiative to create synergy with our business and the community, and also to promote the city's first annual tree lighting since the pandemic, and also additionally hosting the open house for the City Hall. We also established social media website notifications, and we work with the mayor and SPPD, Seat Pleasant Police Department, to initiate the Lane of the Wreath on Veterans Day. It also organized with the Seat Pleasant staff to open, to assure that all of our citizens were invited to the open house. So this concludes my report. And again, I just want to start where I began, and then to thank the council and all the citizens for your support to assure that the city of Seat Pleasant is moving in the direction that it needs to go into. And again, this is our draft copy of the report. There's some additional things I'll need to add to it before it's sent out, but it will go out as our newsletter. And thank you very much, and I'll open it up for any questions that you may have about where we're moving to or where we've been.
Only thing I'm gonna say, when you mentioned public engagement, the events you were talking about, was it, from what date are you starting from your report? Because last year we had a Juneteenth celebration, which turned out to be very nice, but you didn't mention it.
I can add that.
That's the only thing I had to say. Anything else?
I will add that to the report. Thank you.
Fantastic. As a former Texan, would definitely like to see Juneteenth recognized and held up high. I think you know what I'm talking about. Ms. Ojo, I think this is a wonderful annual report. I like the fact that it's colorful, it's easier to read, it's pleasing to the eyes, it's graphic, it's colorful again. I think this is just wonderful, and I think the residents will like it too. Mr. Mack is a very popular person, our driver. He's personable and he's on time. And I just want you to continue to do all the great things that you are doing. Thank you. I yield.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Nick, huh? Next is our reports. The mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The mayor's report is also in board docs. Much of it, we go through the highlights of the report. You know, any additional information that the council would like to have, they can contact me and I will expound on those particular things. The meetings, okay, again, are as noted in the board docs report, but I'll highlight some of the things that took place. On February 8th, I had a virtual meeting with the Seat Pleasant Volunteer Fire Department. On February the 12th, I met with the Crisis Services meeting regarding Crisis Community, which is a 988 program, a national program that we really need to really look into. I'd like the council to really, once the information is brought forward, to support that program because we are in a crisis situation in many places, and when it deals with things that deal with that thing for people having problems and so forth. This is an excellent service to deal with things in a number of different ways. I attended the town hall meeting via Zoom at that particular time. Then we were discussing some city issues at the time, gave the citizens an opportunity to come out and express their views, particularly regarding House bills, and get an explanation for it. I attended the Maryland Mayor's meeting. I also had a conversation with Gloria Johnson, the president of the League of Women Voters. I also had an opportunity to sit down with Ms. Bell to go over the mayor's budget, and attended the Maryland Back Mayor's meeting with the state's attorney, Aisha Berryboy, and that's going to be a kind of like, seems like a duplication here, but we'll see exactly what happens as far as the report goes out. I attended Narcan training on February the 16th that the city of Hyattsville hosted. We'll be trying to bring that Narcan training to the city. I think it's something that we all need to look into being trained on. It is the opiate crisis is. We had a long conversation about that at the National League of Cities today, which I'm in attendance there. I had attended a municipal retreat that is with Aisha Berryboy, and a lot of information will impact the city. Came out of that particular meeting, and also a lot of services that we can utilize came out of that meeting with the state's attorney's office. I had, from 28th and the 29th, I had the Maryland Mayors Association Conference in Annapolis. We we had an opportunity to go to the governor's office and get an opportunity for getting some information and also seeking information to come out of that office. I do know that Council Member Wright has let the council know that we're also working on bringing the governor's office into the city. So that should be forthcoming. I gave testimony on House Bill 165 slash Joint Senate Bill 747. I want to thank the citizens for their participation in coming down and supporting the city in those particular ways, because as was mentioned by City Manager, Ms. Ojo, it was helpful in getting the point across to those who would try to see this city go in an awkward direction. And I thank them so much for that. I attended the County Council Oreada's Black History Community Trailblazer Celebration. Also attended the Seat Pleasant Police Department Appreciation Breakfast for the City of Seat Pleasant Elementary School and staff and parents. A well-attended meeting by many of our citizens, also letting people know that how diverse we are as far as a community right now. And we really need to take heed to that. Again, one of our council members, Councilmember Wright, was instrumental in trying to bring to our attention an aspect of what takes place within the a large contingency of the community now, which is Hispanic, that's coming to the area, and we need to see how we're going to actually handle that reference to making sure that we give all services to all groups within the city. I presented a proclamation for Virginia White, okay? If there's proclamations or you know people that are in your wards that need to have something of special attention to the fact that they may have been on this planet for a number of years or more or done special things, we need to recognize those things and make sure that people have that. I did a recommendation for a resident, Ella Lewis, and now she's become, through that recommendation, she wanted to thank and give a letter, and I can expound on that letter if the council would like to. She's the Neighborhood Health Ambassador, which is an esteemed position to have in the city. So we thank her for moving forward on that. That, at this time, concludes my report. I'd ask the council president that I might have liberty to go. I'm attending the National League of Cities, had the opportunity to hear from President Biden and the transportation gentleman, Mr. Buttigieg, today to talk about various things, what's actually taking place in this country. And there's quite a bit of information I'm going to try, I believe I myself, along with Councilmember McCarty, to bring back to the city that they can utilize with reference to programs that will be helpful and have an impact on our city. Thank you, Mr. President. Please, my report. If you have any questions? Yes.
Council President, can I speak?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Porter. Can you explain or elaborate a little bit on the Neighborhood Health Ambassador? I've never heard of that.
That is a program she wanted to, as far as that is, it takes things within the neighborhood, how your neighborhood is dealing with specific issues and things of that nature. And she's now become the ambassador, okay, to bring forward things. You know, like people go into communities, or you have ambassadors that the government sends out to different countries and so forth. Well, there are ambassadors that have an opportunity to get around and act as a liaison, okay, for the city, advocate for certain things to actually take place. I can expound on that at some point in time and so forth to give you the full details of what that is, but it would take a little bit, but I'll make sure that I get you that information as to what that entails.
Oh, please, thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I yield the floor, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Council President's report, and did a bad job of this, but we're gonna give it a shot. I attended the work session for February 5th, public session for February 12th. Oh, special session? Tuesday, February 12th, Tuesday, February 13th, and Tuesday, Tuesday, February 26th. I had it in my mind, it's practice. 3 pieces of legislation, all this is in board docs. Meeting, I testified along with the mayor, Councilmember Wright, Bill Bro, and several others, for Bill HB 165, SB 747. Events attended the Blue Line Corridor update given by Senator Joanne Benson and Councilwoman Oriata. And no conferences. I did neglect to put in my report the presentation the police department did at Sea Pleasant Elementary. And that is my report for the month. Okay, let me see how. Ms. Ojo.
Council President,
Oh, any questions?
I have a question. On the council committee meetings, all of them say that there was no committee meetings held. If that can be updated, because we did have quite a few committee meetings. For sure, I know that the finance met, which I'm on that committee, and Love is the chair, and the governmental affairs, we met as well. If that's something that can be updated.
I thought committee meetings were reported on the work session. Am I wrong?
Say that again?
I thought the committee meetings were reported at the work session?
Yeah, we did, but whoever
wasn't.
assist you with doing this report, they put on there that there was no meetings for any of the committees. And we actually did have committee meetings, if that's something that can be updated.
Okay,
Yeah, that's all.
okay.
Thank you.
I think I done messed up and hit something, but. Am I in it? What am I in? Okay, now we're at citizen, oh, no, Ms. Ojo. What, did,
Yes. Yes.
City manager report.
Okay, then, thank you. Okay, so in lieu of the city manager report, I have provided you with the annual report. So I did provide a report that's in the work session. And if the president doesn't mind, I can forego that report and refer everyone to board docs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I thought you were gonna sing for us. Okay, next, citizens' comment. Mrs. Ball, is there any citizens that have a comment, concern?
Yes, Councilmember Rayner, Ms. Kearney, I'm going to allow her in to speak. She did write a comment during the presentation. So if you give me a second, I will allow Ms. Kearney in to speak.
Thank you.
Ms. Kearney, I've allowed you in to speak. If you can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Ball, for taking my questions in there and answering those that you could for the appropriate time, and good evening to everyone. My question was for Ms. Ojo. She gave a wonderful report. She was mentioning in her report about the funds for impact, where she made requests for impact funding due to the Blue Line Corridor. And I'm just wondering if she can give a brief response to, or anyone can give a brief response to, what was the response to those requests for impact funding?
Okay. May I respond, President Rayner?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay then, thank you. So, should I respond, or should I put the response in writing? I'm sorry.
In writing.
Oh, okay then. Ms. Kearney will provide you a response in writing.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Any other citizens?
We do not have any other comments in writing, but we do have Miss Charlena on the line. Miss Charlena, would you like to speak? Okay. And Council President, there are no more citizen comments.
Thank you much.
Council President.
Oh, Councilmember Bilbrough.
I would like to request of the council to kind of rethink or maybe modify how we do the citizen comments a bit. I do think it's a little redundant. I think it's a little redundant to have those who can give an answer to our citizens right now not give an answer to our citizens. We don't often get more than one or two citizens to ask a question, you know? And I think that if we have our chief there or our CFO or our city manager who can provide an answer to the citizens who have taken their time to come onto the call or come into the building to ask a question, I think we should allow them to have that answer if it can be provided at the same time. And I think that we can still include it in writing, submit it so that others can read it. But those who have a question generally have a question because it's pressing on their soul. And I don't think it fair to dismiss them, because when we want an answer, we want to have it, you know? And so if somebody can provide an answer, I think they should be able to. Just something that we can think of to modify.
Okay.
Let me agree with Councilmember Bilbrough. Let me just say that I noticed Ms. Ojo was prepared to answer the question, but we told her that she could do it in writing. My thing, Mr. President and my colleagues, if the department head or Ms. Ojo wants to respond to the citizen right then, they have the right to, and back that up, like I said with Councilmember Bilbrough, with writing. I yield.
Just from the mayor's office, I do think that that's appropriate, doing it if in effect the party is here and can actually answer the question in specific. Typically, the reason why that's done is so that the party may have an opportunity, if a question comes in that we don't have the appropriate parties here to answer at that time, then we try to get the information. But again, I agree with both you, Mr. Bilbrough, Councilman Bilbrough and Councilman Wright, that if we do have someone here that can do it within a specific period of time, because we know there's a time period that's gapped to that, I think they should answer the questions. So.
Okay, this is something to take into consideration. Any other questions, comments, statements? Okay.
We have a citizen here that wants to speak. Are we gonna hear from him?
I thought she, this here?
He said he didn't want to. He put his hands up. He said he didn't want to.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying.
Normally you do.
Mr. Jones?
Council President.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Councilmember Bilbrough.
Can Ms. Kearney get her answer, if at all possible? I don't think it'll take too long.
Could you give Ms. Kearney an answer, Ms. Ojo?
Let's make sure she's still here.
Ms. Kearney?
Is Ms. Kearney still here?
Yes, she's still on the line.
Okay, Ms. Kearney.
Council President, if I may, I want to just say, maybe we should wait until that's a decision that's made by the full council, so that we're not answering some people's questions and not everybody's. Let's make it general so that when we're ready to do, if we're going to change things, it'll be a clear across the board that that's going to be the understanding, so that everybody's clear.
Okay. Everybody good?
Well, I'm in agreement with Mr. Bilbrough, Councilmember Bilbrough. and Councilmember Wright about that, about doing it.
Okay.
I think it's been a complaint that has been brought to us that I'm right here, you can answer, and accompany it with something in writing. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's do a consensus.
All right,
Can we discuss this in the next work session?
exactly,
Wonderful.
exactly.
Is that cool? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ojo. Thank you again, Ms. Kearney.
All right.
You had something?
No, I just want to say, I just want to, I just want to say this because I'm going to have to get ready. As I indicated, I wanted to go back to the conference at the National League of Cities, but I want to thank the council, okay? Even though Ms. McCarthy had to leave, and of course she's attending the conference as well. I just feel good about the fact that we have a good full body up here on the dais. I think that's essential. It's very important to the citizens. I don't care how many citizens that might be out there that's actually looking upon this. It's just a good look for the city because these things, even though they are recorded, and I just want to thank the council for this. This shows an aspect of teamwork. We may not agree with one another in all aspects. That's just a part of it. But you show solidarity in a team when you comply for this. And I just want to give the council kudos for doing that now. And whatever brought it to bear, made it happen, I'm very happy about that because I think the citizens deserve it. I'm going to ask you if I can be excused, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you much, and I agree with you. Next, no unfinished business, no new business. Councilmember Wright, you're a journalist. You can read very well. Can you?
Thank you. Announcements, 8.1, public session, Monday, March the 11th, 2024. Seat Pleasant City Hall, Council Chambers, 6301 Addison Road. Here in Seat Pleasant, the meeting will be hybrid and by Zoom video at 7:00 p.m. And meeting link details will be on the city's website. 8.2, Ward 1 meeting, Saturday, March the 23rd, 2024, Seat Pleasant Activity Center, 5720 Addison Road, Seat Pleasant, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Councilmember Higgs, do you want to say something about that real quick?
Sure, thank you. If all of the residents for Ward 1 will please come out and support this meeting. I have some gifts for you. We have some funds from ARPA that I will be passing out. So please come out to the meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Higgs, I'm a resident of Ward 1, the best ward in the city. But if other residents from the city want to come, can they come?
They are more than welcome to come, but however, the ARPA funds will be based on the residents for Ward 1. Each representative was allocated the same amount of money, and I'm not sure what everybody else did with theirs.
Okay, thank you very much.
But you're more than welcome to come, and anybody else from any other ward, just want to see, please come.
But you're Ward 1 though, right?
Yes, I'm Ward 1.
Then he's a resident.
He can definitely come.
Okay.
But unfortunately, you will not receive a gift card. You are a council member.
Oh, rats. Thank you very much, Councilmember Higgs. 8.3, regular work session, Monday, April the 1st, 2024, Seat Pleasant City Hall, Council Chambers, 6301 Addison Road, Seat Pleasant. It will be in hybrid and Zoom video at 6:00 p.m. Meeting details will be on the city's website. 8.4, proposed budget hearing for fiscal year 2024-2025 on Monday, April the 8th, 2024 at the Seat Pleasant City Hall, Council Chambers, 6301 Addison Road, Seat Pleasant. This meeting will be hybrid and by Zoom video at 6:00 p.m. The meeting link details will be on the city's website. And finally, 8.5, public session, Monday, April the 8th, 2024, Seat Pleasant City Hall, Council Chambers, 6301 Addison Road in Seat Pleasant, hybrid and Zoom video at 7:00 p.m. Meeting details will be on the city's website. And do we have any additional announcements in that regard?
Not any additional announcements, but I would like to thank our new public engagement representative, manager. The cameras are working, the microphones are working. We're on all platforms. We spent a lot of money on this system, and we want to make sure it works. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, let me just say that our public engagement director is fantastic, but your vice president needs a little work. 8.6, proposed budget meeting for fiscal year 2024-2025, Saturday, April the 13th, at Seat Pleasant City Hall, Council Chambers, 6301 Addison Road, Seat Pleasant, hybrid and Zoom video from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Meeting link details will be on the city's website. That completes the announcements.
Thank you much, sir. If there any other questions, meetings adjourned at 9:07. Popeye's time.